Welcome to where the furniture isn't always the best, but them views, they are amazing.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 13th floor where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. We got some special views tonight. First and foremost, my man Fresh in the building. What's happening?
Another beautiful day in Zamunda, as we say. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna start freshening that up. Another beautiful day in Wakanda. We out here live and direct. I guess you guys hopefully will be listening to this either Friday or Saturday morning. If that's the case, Wake Fest is going down on Saturday, which would be February 15th. Myself and DJ Sage will be soundtracking. It should be quite the splendiferous way for you to celebrate your post-Valentine's festivities, whatever you did, and you could have some more fun on Saturday if you are in the Wynwood, Miami area. That's 305. We will be live and direct. So come on out, support your boy, enjoy yourself. We here.
Yes, sir.
And shout out to the crew, man. Shout out to the hat. Say that. What's it again?
Oh, Main Brain Music is the click. Me and DJ Sage, as well as a few other DJs. But you can check the Brain, little bass symbols over there, all that good stuff. You know, we out here, man. I'm trying to stay awake. We here though.
There it is. And BJ down bottom, man. What's going on?
All good, man. Blessed, highly favored. Glad to be here, man.
Absolutely. First and foremost, we got to say happy Valentine's Day out there to all our listeners. To all our single listeners, make sure you hit up my man Fresh. He got all of the relationship tips. He's doing it big for Valentine's Day. He already told you what a groove is, so meet him there.
Run him out.
Meet him there.
Please do. I'm not scared at all. I'm ready. Yeah. You know, I got to make an addendum from last week. I made a statement. It ain't even involving that. Ironically, though, I had somebody who told me, you know, I kind of insinuated taking addiction lightly with my statements about being able to kind of, you know, push your way through stopping cigarettes and saying that, you know, hey, it's about stopping purchasing them from the store. I don't want to by any way, shape, or form try to take addiction lightly or act like, you know, there is some true way to bypass addiction. It was more along the lines of just figuring out ways different ways to kind of figure out how to bypass those steps and not make yourself always think about the large task at hand and figure out more bite-sized ways to accomplish what you want to.
Yeah, man, and I think the listeners should really appreciate that. One thing we always appreciative of the feedback. We grow from it, we learn from it, especially with my man Fresh and tailoring the message. One of the things you'll get from him, though, is like he has a, like, you know, it's like, okay, stop doing this so you can get to doing that, you know what I'm saying, type attitude, you know what I'm saying? It's almost matter of fact. So, you know, it could kind of rub some people the wrong way, but it's all out of love, man. You know, we want to see you be your best self, and definitely can't take that addiction situation lightly at all. So no disrespect meant on the 13th floor. Hopefully all of our listeners, you know, take that in stride and we can move and grow from it together.
No diggity, no doubt.
Every day, baby.
Yeah, man. And sticking with the love theme, I want to shout out a few of our longer standing relationships, man, because here on the 13th floor, you know, you got BJ here and Gina been going strong. How long now, sir?
Officially, it's 14 years. About to be 14 years.
Okay, so what's the unofficial? Because I think that's even more, that's almost as important, if not more important.
Officially married March 18th will be 4 years.
Oh, so you did that backwards. So we got the unofficially 14, and then the official marriage and stuff, that's 4 years.
Yeah. Going on 4 years.
Yeah, so that's black love at its best, man. You know, you got me and Chris, we've been doing this thing since 2007. So we coming up on 13 unofficially, and unofficially been married since probably about 2015 or so, 2016, I would say. So that's another 3-4 years. So it's just a true testament to what, you know, we as Black folk can accomplish in our relationships, you know, whether it be marriage or otherwise. You know, there are true examples, not just celebrity marriages like the Beyonce and Jay-Z's of the world, or or Will and Jada. So I really want to take this time to really shout out those strong bonds and strong relationships, marital, whether it be official, unofficial, you cohabitating, whatever your situationship is. We definitely want to highlight that because that is huge for our community, and there's a lot of people out there that need to see that and know that they really, really exist.
Kudos to y'all. Hats off.
And my main man, Fresh, been playing the field for about, 2 years now?
Yes, a little over 2 years, almost a little over 3 years now, I think. I don't know, man. We out here. I'm enjoying life. I'm not
What are the drawbacks do you see, what I'm saying, from that situation, if any at all?
What drawbacks of what? Being single?
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Currently, I don't see any drawbacks of. Well, I won't say I don't see any. Everybody enjoys companionship at times. Everybody enjoys. Especially hugs, kisses, affection, all of that kind of good stuff. But in general, I can't say that I am sad or in any ways distraught in my single nature. And yeah, I can't say there's true defining downsides that keep me up at night or keep me anything besides enjoying life, fresh and baby.
I feel you. I forgot what I was going to ask you as a follow-up because I was listening and I'm just like, man, that's just the sound of somebody who's just comfortable, with themselves. And I hear so oftentimes whereas people, they feel like they got to be with somebody or next to someone or in this relationship. I even know people that jump from relationship to relationship and don't take that time, in between to really love themselves and understand themselves and be comfortable, in that space.
If I could tell my single brothers and sisters anything at all, I would say the biggest way or pathway towards finding your actual soulmate or whoever you truly are supposed to be with is really finding and loving yourself and being okay and really accepting of yourself. That's what shines and what will attract what you desire and what you really want is when you are okay in living your best life, you will attract somebody who's meant for you and supposed to provide that next piece of you enjoying those next steps of your life. So if I could preach, or I don't want to say preach, but if I could say anything else to all you single people out there hounding or trying to search for a loved one, I would definitely suggest that the first person you identify and love is yourself, and you find a way to do that vigorously, continuously, and all the time.
One of the things that I find that's most interesting for me being a not single person for so long is the online dating game thing. And I'm always interested in people's stories or whatever. Do you get into that at all? Often?
Oh, man, I've tried it all, especially when I first once I first got over the shock of being single and, was seeking ultimately affection and just, trying to get back out there in the field, I will say that it's definitely, it's different, man. It was definitely a shock. The first opportunity I, jumping on Tinder. And first off, just having to identify yourself, provide a profile, pics and what you're going to say and all that other stuff. And then just there's enough pressure trying to speak to a female you're attracted to in an open setting when you get the open book of your mind trying to figure out something witty to say to them, and after you've sat there and looked at this picture and now you kind of feel like a creep and you're trying to figure out something that doesn't make you sound like a creep, but you actually look at the pictures in kind of a creep way, and so it's like a weird scenario that you're already dealing with, and then dealing with the rejection of you just simply send a hi to somebody and then all of a sudden they they've either not responded or they'll just delete. Like they'll just go away. Like you just go into your account again, and all of a sudden they're not there, and so you realize like they were just like, oh, pretty much F this dude. And so then you start taking stuff personal that you realize like, man, I really shouldn't take it personal. She didn't know me, but I know if she see me, I'm gonna let her know that she ain't nothing. And so it's a lot of it's a lot of weird stuff that goes on. It's
on the street.
Yeah, bro. It's a lot of entertainment. There's definitely a lot of interesting people in the world, but I will say it's the gift and the curse of the internet, right? What I always talk about. It's it's awesome because it provides access, and I can remember the in a sense lack of access, even though my last single time prior to my relationship was when Facebook was first starting. And so like I was just in that area of having that access where it's like, yeah, bro, you can go to New York and like already kind of meet some people there, so you can have some access and ability to, talk to them and do everything. Where now it's like with Tinder and all these different other applications and stuff that's going on, it's very cool the opportunity that you have to kind of be able to set yourself up to go somewhere and get that local vibe. Like that's my favorite way to travel, is to get the local feel. But at the same time, there's some crazy people out there in the world. It is interesting, the personalities that you meet. It's refreshing to find out that you are not as alone as you may feel, and your thought processes are not as unique as you may think. But then it's also refreshing to find out that a lot of your thought processes are as unique as you think they are, and that there like I said, there are interesting people out there in the world. So it's it's been an interesting ride, but we here. I'm enjoying it. I have no qualms at all.
So now you got me piqued my interest. So without naming location or names, like what was one of the crazy individuals or craziest things when you can't either face to face or talk to somebody situation you came up with?
Hashtag Bush.
Dag, man, you really put me on the spot. I'm trying to think of what stands out in my mind. I mean, there's all types of crazy scenarios. I mean, just crazy scenarios from the simplicity of, having conversations with somebody, but they're never, they're you trying to push the meet face to face to hope that you're not getting catfished, but they never actually do that. I had a situation where it wasn't my personal situation, but I was hanging out with some homeboys, and we were all just trying to, find chicks to hang out with type stuff. And he starts getting messages where this chick is a little extra, and it was very early and hey, what's up type situation. He said maybe he was talking to her for a week, but my antennas was going off rampant. And next thing, another homeboy winds up having the same chick sending him the same exact videos and stuff going on. And this is all in the like a day of stuff going on, and us trying to find stuff going on. I'm just like, man, this seems real fishy, to where this pretty much the chick turns out to be a guy and just lets it like, man, hey, I'm sorry, I'm a guy. I took these from my ex-girlfriend and XYZ. I use these. I would have let you come over and do things to me. Like it was a situation. So yeah, it can get very loud and weird out there on the internet. So be safe, be thorough. Like I said, my antennas was raised early on in the situation. But yeah, man, there's a lot of wild stories out there, man.
That's the type of stuff you stay with. I don't want to deal with that stuff.
Yep. That's why it's
it should be illegal, like for someone not to disclose that information prior to any type of engagement or encounter.
And I don't know. That's an interesting peek into the future, right? What that door that's open, right? What will be the punishment that can come, right? Like it's such a weird. I don't even know how you describe that. Like I know how you describe the scenario, but now putting it into like law, into different situations like that, it really should be. But A, how do you stop it? And B, like how like that's just a lot, bro. It's a lot.
We just got to find the code of ethics, and you know what I'm saying, like that just has to be like ingrained or whatever. But what the other thing I was going to ask you was the organic nature of actually meeting someone. Do you find that is kind of taken away, given that one, you're on the internet, you're either behind your phone or behind this profile, so you can pretty much do and say any and everything that you want or create whatever type of persona that you want, versus actually having to meet someone out in a space or organically or whatever the case may be?
Yes and no, but that's in a sense, it's kind of the beauty of it, and it's really more of what you are there for. There's some people who, like, their main goal is to have pen pals. Their main goal is just to have somebody that they can, communicate, and whether that's because they're in another relationship or they're just too scared to meet anybody, or that's just their thing, it just is the nature. But there are people who, like, it always just depends on the people who are interacting, where it's, if you're really looking for a connection, then you're really going to force that, hey, let's meet, let's figure out something to do. That's kind of like one of the one of the golden rules of it. If you really are serious about trying to meet somebody or trying to, whatever you're trying to do, it really is about, hey, let's figure out how do we get to a face-to-face, whether it's, let's go on a date, let's go have coffee, let's go meet, out, somewhere by the beach, whatever it is, it's let's figure out a way to get face to face, because catfishing is real, and people are, very aware of it, and always questioning, especially when you start having a couple conversations and it's not weird. When it's not weird, it's like, is this going to be, is this too good to be true? And are you like, are you have you been spying on me? There's so much stuff. I don't know if anybody's seen on Netflix. There's a new show called You. If you haven't watched it, that show is crazy, because it pretty much takes you through scenarios of this guy who will, like, spy on this chick and then winds up getting a relationship with her, just to, like, it's wild. It's a wild story, but it really opened your eyes, especially as a single person, to the world of what can happen and what you have going on digitally, especially in the world of digital dating. But at the same time, it does not deter me from enjoying, the digital space. I'm not scared. I'm cautious, but I'm not scared of the opportunity of online.
He's cautiously optimistic, folks.
There we go.
There it is. Coach K, man, what's happening, man? Cut your mic on. Welcome to the show.
Man, I don't know what's happening. My internet is all jacked up. My computer is jacked up. I'm about to start a GoFundMe to get a new Mac, because I think this one is about to go down.
Mac that.
Oh man, well, you're right on time, bro. We were just about to get into the emotional affections displayed as the emotional aspect of us as men, displaying and expressing our love and affections for our loved ones, be it kids, significant others, and such. And it's crazy because you know how we typically get pegged as the less emotional or less emotionally expressive partner, or I guess entity within any relationship. But it could also be misconstrued or misunderstood, because I think there are a variety of ways us as men, Black men, go about showing our love, our care, affections. And sometimes, you know, we may show it in unconventional ways. So that's kind of where we are right now. You can feel free to jump in and add, since we missed you for the last 15 minutes.
I will add by once again expressing our love and admiration for Mama Jones, because I don't know if she heard us last week. She might have tuned out, because by the point we did that, Fresh was in full display of his love and affection.
This dude is like the biggest hater I've ever seen. Like, why do you put salt on the wound? Like, why are you bringing up old stuff? Like, what is the, like, I don't understand. What is your purpose in life right now, man? Why are you're such a mean older brother, dog. You were so mean.
Yeah. Listen, you calling me mean? That was clever marketing to make people want to go listen to the last episode to see what it was. That's all it was, man. No no shots fired, no hits below the belt, none of that. I
I
just
don't
wanted to
know
make
what
sure.
ulterior world
Yeah.
goes on in that head, man, but I promise there was 0 people within this podcast or in our listening that did not take that as a stab in the side of Fresh.
No, man, you just sensitive, man. There was no
My
stab
viewers know
between.
this, so this ain't new news.
There was no stab there. All right, so I'll bring it back to the content that we're talking about. So what I will say is, it's funny how people want to see the emotion and the sensitivity, but that's not how we were raised. We were raised, oh, you have to be a man. Men don't cry. Men don't do this, don't do that. But now you want us to show the opposite of that, which is open up and be vulnerable and be loving and affectionate. And it's not that we don't do it. It's just that, look, we weren't allowed the room to do that when we were younger. And then now we're unsure of what exactly is a safe space for us to do that now. Because there's so many external influences, so many things. Oh man, he's soft, or man, is he undercover? There's so many things that now come along. Oh man, is he metrosexual? There's so many things now when you display that softer side or whatever, that it's just, when is it okay? Right? We never really know when it's okay to just display those emotions. And I think at this point it's like, okay, well, who has the remote? Who has the controller for when it's okay? And if they could send us just a schedule of when it's all right, that would be appreciated.
I think you hit the nail on the head, because when we started thinking about this topic, that was exactly where I wanted to go, about how individuals are raised. And it depends. I mean, there's a lot of factors in that, right? Household environment, community environment. You grow up around a bunch of males, or did you grow up around a mix or a bunch of females, right? And your perception and your reality is different from somebody else's who was in a different environment. That environment, same thing you guys talked about last week, right? That environment shapes how you respond to things, how you interact, how you express yourself. And those environments change over the years, and with our different situations, whether it's high school to college to work life to relationship to kids to just dating somebody, whatever, all those different environments are playing off of each other. And like you said, there's no real definition of that safe place. And then when we get to the point where you may feel or want to do is like, how am I going to be perceived? How is it going to be taken? Not taking away anything from anything you've already done, but from this point on, what does that look like? What does that sound like?
I think you hit the nail on the head too, BJ, about creating that or defining that safe space. I think we're at a pivotal moment in time as Black men where we have to redefine what that space looks like. And the experiences, our upbringings, like Carol pointed out before, they all shape, how we in turn externalize that and pass it on to, the next generation. I use myself as an example. When you brought this up as a topic, BJ, I look at, how I raise my kids and different situations in which I have been given feedback as to how I go about expressing, myself, whether it be love, frustration, anger, care, and the like. And I do feel like that my upbringing has a lot to do with that, and it's pointed out to me, and it's a stark difference from what Chris's upbringing and even her father. Now he's a Brooklyn, New Yorker, man's man by every definition of the word, but he is so outwardly expressive of his love and care to his children. And granted, he has 5 daughters, and 1 son, and his son was like somewhere in the middle. So I think it kind of forced him to show that softer, gentler, more loving and caring and nurturing side. But that's not, kind of how I was raised. I had a military dad and a mom, who ended up being a single mother raising 2 boys for the majority of our lives. So, when it came to getting us prepared for the world, I'm sitting here thinking about the topic today, and I was like, could I have gotten hugged a few more times, when I was, younger? Did I miss out on some of that stuff? And is that why I sometimes find myself having to reassess how I, go about my daily expression when it comes to my kids and, my spouse and things? So I think, once we get to a point where we have matured enough to not let those outside influences, the media, our, friends, our, teenage ways, the jokes and stuff, not letting those things define what manhood, quote unquote is, and really looking at that definition, for ourselves, and what does that require? What does my child require when it comes to this expression and this love? What does my spouse require when it comes to this and in my everyday life?
True.
I have to totally agree. Yeah.
I think another point is, I feel like as males, we do a lot more showing our love or respect, in the aspect of doing, being there. Like, I know me especially, I got caught up in my showing, like, I'm here. Like, why are you complaining about things if I'm here? There's no reason. This is like me showing you how much I'm in the kingdom is because I am here. Whereas females, because from young, they're watching shows where everybody's saying I love you and all of this other stuff, and they're hugging and they're doing this stuff, where we're watching fighting and there's no love at all in war and battle. And so when you grow up and females are able to express affection and express how they feel and want to talk about it, whereas males are like, I've already shown you how I feel. Why do I have to talk about it now? And that's where the friction comes, is that males aren't provided the tools early enough to be able to understand expressing how you feel is okay, and that it's a key part of growing in life, and the ability to express your desires, what you like, what you don't like, is very key in growth in development. Pause.
No, I'm thinking back to like everything everybody's saying. Like, so when you think back, so again, I go back to your environment, right? I think back to my mom and pops. Did my dad tell me he loved me? Yeah. Was it like a daily thing where no? But I knew he did based on the actions, just like you were saying, based on the things he did. And I would observe him, and I could tell when things were, no matter what was going on, no matter what we did, and no matter how much trouble I got into, I always knew that my dad loved me, right? In fact, when I went away to college was one of the first times I remember distinctly, first time my dad ever told me he missed me. Like, to me, that I was like speechless.
But how did you, so you said even when you was in trouble, you know what I'm saying, or anything that happened, you knew that your dad, what was it that he did? Or what is it that you can remember or call on that let you know that despite any of this, whatever, my dad loves and cares about me?
Because it's one of the characteristics I try to instill in my kids now. Yeah, yes, whatever happened, it's my job as your father to discipline you. But there's a line drawn in the sand. I'm not going to hold that over your head. I'm not going to keep it up. Like my dad was huge, right? My dad, it wasn't no belt, no nothing like that. My dad was just, his hand was like twice as thick as mine and about 3 or 4 inches longer than mine. Like,
thunder.
You get hit. Like,
I watched him slap the bark off a tree one time, and after that, I knew I'd never do anything.
I watched him slap the bark off me a whole bunch of times, right? But it's no matter. And again, I say that not to say that I wasn't abused as a kid. Like most of the stuff I probably did deserve to get popped a couple times.
I feel the same way about my father, where it's like it wasn't about him verbally saying, how much he loved me. But at the same time, I know without a doubt, my dad would have done anything. He would have easily killed 4 or 5 people, for me, for minor infractions. That it's also the time though, right? Like my dad was a gang leader. And so it's like his thought process was never about, I'm going to, like I can verbalize, like I can't show that weakness.
Just for the record, that is still your dad's outlook on life. Just for the record,
It's true.
Shout out to him too, because I know he listens as well. So yeah,
this is true.
But I think the first time my dad, when I again away at UM, my father over the phone told me he missed me, was probably the biggest affirmation for myself that I had ever received up until that point.
That's dope.
And I just didn't remember the conversation. It was just random. I just called him. He had been outside cutting grass. He had just came in and like just made the phone call. Like he had just walked in the house. Like 5 seconds earlier, 10 seconds earlier, the phone would have rang and he would have missed the call. But that one time we would have been out cutting grass or doing something out in the yard or doing all that stuff together.
That's precisely what he missed. He was like, yo, man, I would have been cutting this yard. That boy would have been out there cutting that damn grass.
But again, no matter how many times I can't count and say it was a tremendous number of times he said, I love you, whatever. But that simple, I miss you, was what me. So again, how you say it, how you do it, it doesn't have to be I love you. Now I've made the conscious decision now, and it goes back to something Carol was saying too, that when we talk about our kids and changing that narrative or making it safe for them to say it or feel it, whatever, every night before I leave, when I go say goodnight and go to bed, even if they're asleep, I whisper, like, I love you, right? When I'm leaving out the house, I left out this afternoon to drive out here for work. Make sure, love you guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow night when I get back. I'm going to be calling in a few, whatever. But that's just a conscious decision I try to make it, to say it's okay. And then one of the other things I do, like now my uncles, like my dad was one of 13. 8 of them were 8 boys and the 5 girls. No, 9 and 4. 8 and 5, sorry. I get mixed up sometimes.
It's a lot, bro. It's a lot.
9 and 4. Like I make an effort. Like I actually on one of my drives last week, I called 7 of them. Like just call my uncle back to back before I got the phone. I'm only on the phone for 2 or 3 minutes. Hey, you want to say I love you guys? I'll talk to you later. I don't expect somebody to say it back, but we got to start changing that narrative, right? And then I think the first time I did that to them, I kind of caught them off guard. And they're 60s.
Like, wait, what?
but again, it's about not. Again, that vulnerability has to be there, and not worry about the response in that case. Again, I know we're talking about family members and kids is probably different than we talk about spouse, but all these realms play a part in how we move and maneuver throughout our day and a major part of our lives. That's why they're important.
Very true. And this is a two-way street, right? So us as males are taking the stance of, we know that we have to work on the expression piece, but females, we are asking you to take on the task of being able to understand we are a work in progress, and to not be so hard on us, and to have some understanding when you realize, oh snap, this dude is here. Oh snap, he folded some clothes. Oh, he made a meal, or he did whatever outside of his normal self. And you know what are in the characteristics of what your God would do if you were not involved in his life. So be accepting and receiving of those things outside of his character that he does just because he knows he's trying to make you happy by any means necessary.
So you mentioned going outside of the character, and I was just thinking, do we ever feel like it's a stretch to do some of those things? Personally, I think it's been a stretch to be more expressive, only because it's not something that I feel like I was trained to do. But reaching the spouse or the child or anyone in the way that they need to be reached. Because sometimes it isn't, always, and I love you. Sometimes it is an act, or maybe, a touch, or like right now, it's more like, rubbing, Nia's hair because she's got locks or whatever. Just, those type of simple acts or other methods of showing that affection that kind of stretch you outside of the norm. So do you guys ever feel that kind of like pressure or anything?
Let me tell you. Go ahead. You can think.
I think one of the most important things, especially with your spouse, to discuss and talk about is your love language, right? Is how do you receive and how do you give love? Because I think that's one of the biggest things that people don't have a real conversation around. And there could be things that you think you're doing. Case in point, I remember back in our relationship where I was doing things like it sounds weird, but over aggressively washing the dishes, and it turned out, it was creating. She ultimately didn't like it. It was making her feel some type of way, and like it was a weird complex situation where the me doing it made her feel like I was doing it just to do it for her, and it was a weird thing. But ultimately, it didn't make her feel good, and didn't make her feel good, and it just caused friction in the relationship. So having that discussion around what things you do or receive as love is very priceless in being able to grow your relationship and understand, especially back and forth, what you guys are doing, and have a better understanding so you don't cause unneeded friction.
I think that's that's something that's key that you just said. So from your perspective, and I think everybody else's perspective on here, you were making this sacrifice out of love to aggressively wash these dishes. And instead of that being received, it was met with, well, you don't really want to do it, so you must not really mean it. Or, no, that's not what I needed you to do. Which is just like, okay, well, you know how much it took for me to decide I'm just going to wash these dishes? Like,
and it's because I don't want to downplay and make it as simple as just me washing the dishes, which she took offense to in the great scheme of things, because she allowed other things to be piled inside of that dirty dish compartment that was being cleaned by me. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just about the dishes; it was other things.
There's something else in the sink.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That she was allowed to go ahead and be on top of that situation. But at the end of the day, yes, me, in my eyes, I was doing that as a piece of, a waving the white flag, a hey, I'm sorry type of, and ultimately there was nothing I felt for me to be sorry about, but it was in the guise of, hey, this is something I know that she gets, whatever, when it's not clean, the dishes aren't done and everything. So let me be a little more active in doing it, even though I'm the one cooking 99.999999999% of the time. But I'm gonna go ahead and do that because I'm just trying to show I'm a loving person and all of that good stuff. But ultimately, yes, like you said, when the dishes was getting done, she was taking it some type of way, and yeah.
Allow me to
switch
that up for a second. So the stretch, right? So having a son and him only being 3, and he doesn't know, what I'm saying? He want a hug and a kiss, and he want to kiss me on the mouth, right? And that's like it's one of them things where I caught myself like, okay, I cannot tell him, no, that's not what men do, blah, 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 because it's just his pure just, hey, I love you, daddy, bum, 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 and that's it. So I would say that started out as being a stretch and something that I had to be okay with, right? Now, when he's like 9, bruh, for real?
No Wayne and baby? No?
Huh?
It's just an expression of his love for his papa.
Nah, bro.
You kiss your son's
different
DJ?
At that point. But...
Say that again?
Do you kiss your son?
With them, it's like like everybody is a little bit different. Like Mason, like he is the person that like he wants to be close. It's not really it's like a hug.
Yeah.
With him, it's almost like wrap right here, like on the top of his head, real quick.
Yep.
Yeah. Cameron is the one that's just hug. He wants 2-hand hug.
Yeah.
Madison, you gotta. That's
Love her.
Yeah, I love her. Mm-hmm.
Like kiss her on the cheek. Like if I come in the house at nighttime, it's midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. But I don't come in her room and tell her good night. If she don't remember next morning, like it's all hell breaking loose. Like each one is different though. But I go back to what you talking about, the love language, and I didn't read the whole book. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't read the whole book. I got through it like, but because I don't really. But I think we have love preferences, and I think those preferences change over time. And I think to simplify it as this is my love language, I like gifts, I like affection, I like this. I think that's oversimplifying it because I like gifts. So physically going out and spending money, that's the only way that you think that somebody shows love to you. Like I think that's oversimplified. That's my personal take.
Well, a gift doesn't always have to
exactly.
equate to
I think it
going out
that.
and spending money.
And I do
think
always.
That you're right, but I do think you have something there where.
But at the same time, there are some people who you're right. That's exactly
they
what
exist.
the hell it is. That's like, yeah, yo, you don't spend no dollars on me. I don't feel that you love me at all. Where to me, ultimately, the biggest thing about it is being able to open up the conversation, right? To even start that dialogue is the biggest thing about it, and to even be able to get more. Oh, you like gifts? Well, damn, is it that I gotta buy you some Gucci stuff? Because I'm gonna let you know, chick, that ain't how I'm able to get down. Like the way that my bank account is set up, I'm not gonna be able to do that. But if it's just like I enjoy receiving, knowing that you put thought into something that you gave me. It doesn't have to be that you purchased whatever it is, but knowing that you thought about me and got me something. I don't care what it is, you got me M&Ms because you knew I was studying today. So, I love M&Ms, whatever it is. If it's that's the way to open up that conversation and to be able to have that dialogue and to get past just I like touching on you.
Communication
dialogue
is the key.
And you have to understand and break it down because again, I'm not trying to oversimplify it for anybody out there. Like I just think it's preferences. But again, why do those preferences come? My experience when I've found somebody or heard somebody talk about that gifts whether they're giving gifts to express love, they never tell you they love you, but they'll spend everything or take you or buy you whatever it is. Or in fact, that's what they like back in gifts in turn. It's because that's how that was their environment, how they believe people showed them love when they were growing up. So they received gifts or they had to give gifts in order to please somebody else. They've developed that. Sometimes I think it's a learned behavior and not natural. That's BJ's take.
I think that's very true, but it's with everything, right? Like it definitely has to be with the environment that you grew up in. If your dad was a traveling man and that's how he every Christmas and birthday and when he came back he was giving you gifts and that was his way to show that he loved, then that definitely is what is infused in your brain is like, hey. Yeah, he got me Nintendo and Super Nintendo and every Rock'em Sock'em Robot or whatever, you know what I mean? Then that will be pushed and infused into your mind. But ultimately, it's about having the conversation and being able to, even if that is the reason why, it might be another conversation y'all need to have, where it's you don't necessarily need to base love on that, but it is ultimately about being able to have that conversation so it's better to know and find out early on either side that, hey, either you expect me to get you, expensive gifts all the time. Like that's the only way. Like I already know that's not my mindset. So maybe that is a deal breaker. Or even on the other side where it's, oh yeah, I do expect you to give me expensive gifts all the time. What do you mean you're not going to do that? I can't be with you. Maybe that's a deal breaker. You know what I mean? But having those conversations are keys in growth and development, in not just in the sense of your relationship, but also just in personal development of being able to understand what do I really like? How do I express it? How do I receive it? What do I want? What do I need? All of those things are important to know, and most people don't even take the time to really like digest or think about it and understand, like, oh snap, I don't like that because you know what, I don't like being touched like that, or I don't like doing this, or I don't even care about gifts, you know, and I've never expressed like, I don't want you to buy me anything. I don't need you to buy me nothing. I need you to do the dishes. If you did the dishes, you wouldn't have to buy me nothing. Who knows?
There it is, ladies and gentlemen, your second edition of Dating with Fresh, man. We're going to have that thing coming each and every week. He's going to be wide open.
No, it's called Ladies Love Fresh. Dating with Fresh.
Ladies Love Fresh.
Ladies Love Fresh.
Ladies Love Fresh. I lost my mic. Okay, before we go wrap it up or begin to wrap this up, there was something that you said that I don't want to gloss over, and I think that we started down that path and got taken away from it a little too fast. And it sounded like you were going along the lines of appreciation, and the appreciation for the acts of kindness, love, or whatever that are bestowed upon people and them misperceiving or whatnot. How, after being on the receiving end of said unappreciation, do we react as men? Do we internalize? Do we try to have that conversation? Or do we just say, fuck you, I'm going to, and I'm going to drink it away?
Well, I think people get lost on, and you guys have mentioned it a couple times, love languages. And in language, there's two parts, right? There's the communication and there's the listening. But the only part that we seem to focus on when we talk about love language is the receiving part, right? Nobody thinks about the listening part, right? So I think that's part of the overall grand scheme issue. We only think about how we want to be loved. We don't think about how this person loves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it. And then as Black men, once we open up and we try it and we face pain, we face adversity, we face heartbreak, we already stepped out and exposed ourselves just to love. So now we don't know what to do with the rejection, the hurt, the pain, the return of our act of love. We don't know what to do with that. So I think that then sets us into a spiral, and then there's nobody really for us to go talk to about it. So you're right. We do internalize. We do seek ulterior coping mechanisms because we don't know what to do now, right? If I go talk to my boys and be like, oh man, I did this, blah, blah, blah. This is what she said. Oh, yo, soft ass. That's why you shouldn't have done that to begin with. Told you, blah, blah, blah.
Is that really what we say, Carol?
It'd be more vulgar than that, though, yeah.
Right, exactly. Like, go see Snoop talking about Gayle King. It goes down like that. Right? So yeah, we just don't have that structure. We don't have that structure to learn to deal with that. And a lot of that has to do with, look, we ain't learned how to love from our fathers. Right? For some of us, our fathers weren't there. We ain't see that. BJ, I meant to ask you, did you understand how your father loved your mother?
And that was one thing we didn't get back to, but I did think about that as well. And I would say now I recognize it. Growing up, it wasn't like a conscious thing I thought about on a regular basis. Now I can definitely say I see the things he was doing and things he did because I emulate my father in many different ways. And I think I share a lot of the same frustrations that I also witnessed as well, right? Because that was my home life perfect? No. Was there arguments and was there frustration in it? Yes. But I know at the end of the day, my father loved my mother. And I know that because of, again, I go back to when I reflect on how I act, and then like, damn, that's my father. Like that's the thing. I see it and I feel it, and I can see the same things repeating itself as far as the actions, about being there, like Ian stated, the actions to do it, but not having that. Like my father grew up in rural South Carolina where they didn't even go to school. You had to work the farm. They lived on my family's house now is on the plantation that they used to work. Right? Seriously. You couldn't get the 13 kids because kids had to stay home and work their farm. You got beat for getting up to go to school because you needed to be home working on the farm. That's when my dad left in high school.
Wow.
Like seriously. So it's not when I say I tell my uncles I love them, like that's not a far stretch. Like when I say that, like when I really say that, I think I blew their mind. Like that's just the way that I say that, and again, not minimize, that was the way they were raised. So again, I see the things my father did around the house and was doing, and little things he would do now and then. I like that I see in myself now, and then I know for a fact I can say that I know my dad loved my mom,
Right,
and I know my mom loved my dad, regardless of all this stuff that happened in the years.
but what's interesting though is it took you becoming a father and being a husband to understand what that love was. And if you didn't do that, or let's say you weren't still in the house with your kids, you might not have ever realized what that love looked like.
Agreed. And I could trace it back to probably past relationships as well, where the same conversation about not showing enough affection or doing this, or your love language not meeting your not measuring up to what you feel that love language is. I see that. I totally honest with myself about the situation. I can trace back to many different conversations of past relationships gone and understanding why now. Like I see it. Was it right? No, but again, I can't even say I didn't know better. That's not the thing. It's not I didn't know better. There was no real way. There was no measuring stick. I thought I was right.
There was no model for that.
Correct.
And that's how we got here, because you didn't realize the things that your dad was doing to express love until now. So that means that you didn't get a chance to see what happened when love got tested, when love got pushed, right? You're only realizing that now after the fact. But
agreed.
For those of us that didn't even have a father in our house, that was it. Like you didn't get to, there is no realizing that now for me. Right. So granted, once my mom got remarried, okay, I understand what it is to have a father now that says that, he loves me, whatever. I see what he does from my mom, but I started learning that as an adult. I ain't learned that as a child. Right. So in many respects, we're behind as Black males in understanding the full scope of love, of loving someone, something, and then something happening, being able to get through that and still love. We're still learning that. So as Ian said, it's a work in progress, and it's a work in progress, not just from male to female, husband to wife, boyfriend to girlfriend. It's from father to son, father to daughter, brother to brother, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. When I tell one of y'all I love you, for a quick second, you like, oh, wait a minute, he catfishing, what he doing? Right? Right? So it's still something that we're learning, and I think it's just a matter of we've been set back so far. Look, I don't want to go back and talk about, all the stuff, but there's some trauma in there. Definitely. that we have experienced and that we're still trying to heal from, and we're trying to understand where do we go from here. But I think it's conversations like this that, look, when we gonna get into a room with 20 Black males and have this conversation, right? Who's even gonna show up? Yeah. Right. So I don't know. I thought it was a great topic. I love it. It's one that needs to be further expanded. And who knows, maybe we'll host the first 13th floor I don't know, seminar, workshop, something. Who knows? We'll see.
There was one thing. I know you're going at the first real quick, but you said something because I always would go back again. Y'all said something, told me something that day about ground or something, but I had went back to a scripture the other day because this one scripture had been coming up over and over again since the time I took the stage last year. That one Sunday that I preached, and that was 1 Corinthians 13:13. Now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Because that was directly from my grandmother, though. That was the scripture she picked when she planned her funeral. One of the last things to be read for everybody to walk out of her funeral with before when it was said and done. Like, she planned her funeral, she planned the thing, and she wanted that scripture read. But earlier in that same passage, the definition of love, and I know almost everybody who is in here now or listening has heard it before, but I think we overlook it. We talk about what is love, what does that really mean? And if you've been to a wedding, whatever, I know you've heard it before. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Now, whether you're talking about your relationship with a significant other, the community you live in, the world we live in, your son, your daughter, your mother, your uncle, whoever the case may be, those principles kept at the back of our mind in all that we do. No matter if it's the love we say, it's the actions we do. So this is behind all the I love you has to be actions. So again, not boasting, not being proud, does not dishonor, is not envious. Those are different things that we need to check in our own relationships on a regular basis too. That if those are the things we were there, we need to go back to the definition. How are we defining that love we say and the actions we carry out? Again, no matter what relationship that is.
Man, BJ, that was right on time. If I didn't have to go to the frustration, I'd go ahead and end the podcast right there. But that was beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, remember you can get this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Vimeo, YouTube, and soon to come Tidal. I think I done figured out a plug, but we're going to get there and keep that on the coming soon. Yeah. Freshadente.
Yes,
hey, man, you the moderator, man. You didn't have to go to Freshivation, man. You could do whatever you want to. You the moderator.
But then he'd have been telling me about how I be sneak dissing and under the bus.
He gonna hate you. He's still gonna love you.
He gonna love me, buddy.
I'm right here. Y'all can talk about me like I'm here, but I mean, I probably wouldn't want to let you. I mean, it's the 13th floor. You got all, like he said, you as a host. I wanted to say nothing, but it's all good. We here. We live. We direct now. We in Freshivation. Y'all feel that cold breeze? I know you do. All right. This one, as I would be stepping into, something I would enjoy to hear on my Friday, as I'm going into, my Saturday, about to shut down Wake Fest again, Wynwood, Florida. Miami area. Y'all go ahead and check that out. 15th of this month. But anyway, today my confidence is high. My desires are clear, and I set my intentions with laser-like focus. As I move through my day, I will focus on accomplishing small tasks that complete the bigger picture. Be confident today, as no one has accomplished what you have in life. However, it is not always about focusing on the mountains you want to overcome. Instead, focus on the steps that will lead you along the path. We tend to get overwhelmed when visioning the large project ahead, but through the focus of the pieces to complete, you can bring a large meal down to bite-sized chunks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Freshivation. Y'all go ahead and check me out. It's Freshivation out there on Instagram. I'm working on that Facebook, social media about to be pizzopping, but y'all get Freshivated. We out here. You know what it is. None other than Freshadente. Believe that.
There it is. Coach K, you got something for the people, for the men's?
I can always think of something. But man, BJ
he blew it out the water.
He blew it out the water, man. So, let me see if I can create something here. I tell you what, the one thing that we did not touch on in this whole podcast was the biggest gift that you could ever give yourself is to learn how to love yourself. Love yourself to the fullest and appreciate yourself and take the pressure off your loved ones. Because if you can love yourself completely and wholly, now you don't put that pressure on them to make you feel loved. Because if you can love yourself, then you giving them a head start. And if you really love them, that's what you will do. You will love yourself wholly and fully, and put that out into the world, and then allow them the same opportunity and space to love themselves fully and love who they are. And then once both of you do that, no matter if it's your wife, your child, whoever it is, your husband, I think love becomes easier at that point.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening here with us on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are
Welcome to
amazing.
where the furniture
Go
isn't
tell
always
5
the
people you
best,
love
but
What
the
it look
views,
like.
they are amazing.
It's the 13th floor, y'all. It's the 13th floor, y'all.